I have two comments to make. First, I want to direct this to Miss Skinny Minnie.
Which Miss Skinny Minnie?
Isn't her name Mimi or Skinny Minnie?
Yeah, okay, Mimi.
Well, the skinniest girl up there. Anyways, she made a comment that you have to have a lot of willingness and motivation to be skinny.
I was quoting Dr. Kelly Brownell of Yale. That's what he says.
I don't care who you was quoting. You said it, own it.
I agree with him, absolutely.
Okay, good. But I'm a plus-size model. I am willing and motivated to wake up every day to keep these curves. I don't want to wake up and look like you and be confused and quoting everybody. Why don't you say what you have to say and stand up for what you believe?
Oh, I was just tagging on to she was talking about the same Yale Center, so.
Okay, but let me ask you a question while you're standing up. Why is it okay for you to call her Skinny Minnie? But it's not okay for her to comment about someone's size that's larger.
Well, I don't know her name, so, okay, you got me on that, but moving on. No chubbies. No chubbies. No, I got something for no chubbies.
You said it. Own it.
She was called skinny.
Okay,
it's skinny an insult.
I'm sorry.
But it's skinny an insult. Dr. Phil, is skinny an insult?
Yes. Well, let me tell you.
Skinny is an insult to you?
Yes.
No, I'm saying to the person it was, no. The
but
person
there are people that are skinny that cannot gain weight, and it's just as bad.
But I'm saying to
So I'm gonna have you put the holster on right inside your belt loop there.
Jarrett Maupin gets his weapon. You might recognize him as a high-profile organizer in the minority community. Just last month, he led marches on Phoenix Police headquarters after an officer shot an unarmed man.
We want his badge, we want his gun, we want his job.
Today, he accepted an invitation to look at things from the other side, agreeing to go through a force-on-force training session with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. 3 scenarios where you have to decide to shoot or not shoot. Scenario 1 is a call about a man casing cars in a parking lot. Maupin approaches the man and starts asking questions.
What? Where you have your hand in your gun?
You're looking for your vehicle. What kind of car do you drive?
Where you have your hand in your gun?
What kind of car do you drive?
It's my car, man.
Oh. Maupin, the officer, is shot. It happens that fast.
At what time did you think that it was time for you to address the use of force that was given?
When he came to the back of the vehicle, and was hiding. You know, I could sense something was wrong.
Scenario 2, a call of 2 men fighting.
What's going on today, gentlemen?
What's wrong with you?
What's going on today, gentlemen?
What do you want?
What's happening here?
What's wrong with you?
Back up.
Huh? What are you doing, man? Hey!
Hey, he shouldn't approach me. He shouldn't approach me. He shouldn't approach me. He shouldn't approach me.
What happened in there?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You just shot him?
Hey, he rushed me.
Tell me why you shot.
Well, I've shot because he was within that zone. You know, I felt there was an imminent threat. I didn't necessarily see him armed, but he came clearly to do some harm to the officer, to my person. It's hard to make that call. It shakes you up.
Again, an unarmed man was shot. Scenario 3, a call about a possible burglar walking down the street. Maupin gets him on the ground. He's not complying.
I need you to keep your hands up, sir.
For what?
Because I need to check that waistband.
Well, why? What are you doing,
Because I don't know what you have under there.
Everybody, look at this guy. What are you doing?
No shots fired, but the suspect did have a hidden knife in his waistband. I went through the scenarios too, without seeing what Maupin did.
Well, do you have keys, or do you have anything to show me that?
Don't worry about it.
No, I need to talk to you. Come on out over here. Well, I'm dead. Maricopa County Sheriffs, get on the ground. Get on the ground. Both of you, get on the ground. Get on the ground.
For what?
Get back. Get back.
Same results for both of us. Things happen very fast out here. I asked Maupin what his biggest takeaway from this exercise will be.
I didn't understand how important compliance was, but after going through this, yeah, my attitude has changed. This is all unfolding in 10 to 15 seconds. People need to comply with the orders of law enforcement officers for their own sake.
Mark, before we let you go, though, we'd like to hear some thoughts and some comments you made earlier this week about domestic violence. For our viewers who haven't heard them, here's what Mark had to say.
Blokes who've lost self-esteem, they've lost their job, they're welfare dependent, they've got other troubles, drugs, alcohol in their life. It's that loss of self-esteem where I think they use the domestic violence as a coping mechanism to get over all the other crap that they've got in their lives.
Obviously this has caused some outrage, Mark. Do you stand by those comments, and do we really need to be making excuses for perpetrators of domestic violence?
Well, Eddie, the critics haven't done their research, you see. I was paraphrasing there a very important report in New South Wales from the Coroner's Court, where they look at the domestic violence deaths and produce some conclusions about them. And they talk about a coping mechanism where men living in poverty, underclass circumstances, poor self-esteem, use domestic violence as a macabre, tragic type of coping mechanism. So the critics in this area run on emotion and ideology instead of facts and actually going to read the report. I urge people to read that report.
Well, the facts
and if you
are
haven't
that...
read it, you're not doing justice to the issue.
Mark, the facts are that domestic violence doesn't just affect people in low socioeconomic circumstances. It stretches right across all levels of society, doesn't it?
Well, it's concentrated there. Eddie, the basic fact is that for every domestic incident in a middle-class family in Australia, there are 10 in a public housing estate, 25 in Indigenous communities. That's borne out by crime statistics around the country. So you can't really deal with this serious issue in a proper way unless you're providing accurate analysis. And to say there's an epidemic, that's wrong. To say it's evenly spread across the community, that's wrong. To say that it's a product of patriarchy where somehow men have been genetically engineered to dominate women, that's ridiculous.
Do you stand by your statement that women are safer than they've ever been before, given that there are close to 80 deaths from domestic violence across Australia last year?
Yeah, well, Eddie, I urge you to read the ABS Personal Safety Survey that shows that since 1996... You have read it? Well, you'll notice that since 1996, the rate of domestic assault and incidents has come down according to that report. So you can only go by the official statistics rather than left-wing feminist hysteria.
So you do believe that, in fact, Rosie Batty, from you, quote, causes more harm than good?
Well, I don't think it's helpful to demonise men in these circumstances. I don't think it's helpful to go around talking about an epidemic when actually in Australia the domestic assault rate against women in a 12-month period is 1%. Now, I wish it was 0%, of course. We all want it to be 0%. But I know enough about politics to realise that if you want to analyse and get solutions to a problem, you have to be accurate. And saying there's an epidemic, which sort of suggests the rate is 50 or 60%, when in fact it's 1%, that does a disservice to the women in need because you're dealing in fantasy rather than fact.
Mark, speaking as a fellow bloke, we've just got to be so careful about these messages and making excuses for this. I just...
Oh, no, I'm not. No one's making excuses here, Mike. What you've got to be careful about is analysing the facts, rather than propaganda that people put out there that's not supported by official government reports, official government surveys, and there's nothing I've said that's not factual. Now, we've had a few items here where you've tried to say, oh, well, maybe that's not the case. I've got references, I've got reports, I've got official surveys that back up the facts and figures that I'm putting out there. Now, it mightn't be the information that people want to hear, but I'd rather have a debate where you can deal in reality rather than left-wing feminist fantasy.
All right, Mark Latham, thank you for your time.
So confident am I, you know, that they are the most intellectually lazy people on the planet. I wrote them a guide on how to beat me. I tweet it every week. You see, and this is this lovely inversion that I'm seeing happen, which I love so much. This lovely inversion of what the left has done to us for so long just shows how empty and platitudinous the crap they shut us down with is, you know?
I am the feminist who is out to ruin your life. I am the feminist who is ruining your perfectly respectful marriage by suggesting Audre Lorde to the book club that your wife attends. And yes, I am the one who convinced her to get that shorter haircut that you pretend to like but don't really like. I am the feminist who is pushing your daughter down the slippery slope of sluthood by giving her a high five when she says she keeps her own supply of condoms. And incidentally, I've tried to turn her bisexual gay by